Movie thoughts. The Conjuring 2, starring Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, is the obvious sequel to The Conjuring. Set about 7 years after the first film, it kind of leaves off where the first one started. And by that I mean focusing on the Warrens. Now, the Warrens are a couple that go round these different places and find spooky things and kind of get rid of them. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan in this sort of story. I'm not really a big fan in horror films as a genre. I did, however, really like the first one. I thought that the craft of movie making was phenomenal. So I was kind of excited by this. Oh, just before I really get into this, I did actually see the first film about 10 days before I saw this one. So I was kind of a little bit tired of horror, but hey-ho, let's get into this. So the first thing that I've really got a beef with is the main character, Janet, played by Madison Wolfe. Now, child actors, for me, especially as main characters in horror films or sub-characters in horror films, they're really bad. They generally don't come across very well, and I can't get into them, especially when they have a really bad English accent. Okay, I'm pretty sure that Madison Wolfe, who plays Janet, is English, but I think she puts on a Cockney accent.
Like the voice is coming from inside you?
More like it's coming from behind me.
And that's not just her either, it was her mum, Peggy. She put a very bad Cockney accent on. And then, of course, you've got, like, the other Hodgson children, one of which has a stutter, and it's just like, God, I've seen it before, why? I don't feel for these characters. Yes, the first film did have children in it, but I didn't mind them as much because they were kind of like the sub-characters and the parents were the main characters. But with this, it was all about Madison Wolfe's character, Janet. So, yeah, I don't think that she really did a very good job. I think that's more my personal prejudice to the actual film. As the film grew, I did actually kind of like her character a lot more, especially because she did the old man that had died in the chair really well. And when she got possessed, that was actually really good, but other than that, it was kind of annoying and boring to start off with.
My name is Bill Wilkins, and I'm 72 years old.
The voice on this tape is coming from an 11-year-old girl.
Another thing I picked up on was that the Warrens wanted out at the end of the first film, and yet here they are 7 years later doing another case. All the monsters for this and all the ghosts, they kind of are bombarded on this film, and I don't like the storyline, but what I do like is the craft. And the craft of movie making is great. Like, there are some jump scares that aren't just there just to make you jump. They are put in the right places for the right thing. And I think James Wan kind of understands how to make horror films. And that is something that I think that horror films have kind of struggled with for a very long time. Like, before Cabin in the Woods, like, they're all a very generic, boring sort of trait. And the first Conjuring film, I would say, is on par with my favourite horror film of all time, and that is The Shining. I would say it's up there. And The Conjuring 2, it does as well. I think I was still a little bit fed up with it because I just watched the first one. Now, I've mentioned the jump scares. There was one jump scare that actually got me laughing as opposed to scared, and that was a jump scare of a fire engine. Fire engines aren't scary. What? See the film, you'll know what I mean by that. And also, we also had sleepwalking children again. There are good parts to this, and there are bad parts to this. And I think the bad parts are the fact that it's a horror film. And I generally don't like horror films. It's kind of stale now. I've seen a lot of them. They're boring. Like, they don't thrill me, but hey, I really appreciated the craft of this, and that's probably the highest praise I can give a film director. So, because of that, I've got to weigh up what I've said, and yes, I do think that this is a good film. If you love horror films, and if you love this sort of thing, and if you love the first film, go and see this film. It's not a bad film, it really isn't. But for me, personally, I didn't really enjoy it. I was kind of a bit bored, and it was a bit tired in the middle. Towards the end, it was great, but the middle bit was a little bit, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna give this film a 6 out of 10. Now, you might be thinking, why am I giving it such a low score? Especially because I said that The Craft was really good. I think it's just because a lot of it is generic. Like, it's the storyline that is generic, and I was hoping a bit more from the storyline, and especially because it is very similar to the first one. So, yeah, sorry, it's got to be a 6. That's still better than a 5, and a 5 is the average film. Anyway, guys, until next time, I'll see you then.